This meeting is being recorded.
So we're glad to have Taylor TOYNES with us here today. Just a few words of introduction. Taylor is the founder and executive director of 4 Oak Cliff in the neighborhood where he grew up, and formerly was an educator at a local school. He's also been involved still with 4 Oak Cliff. I first found out about him through the Trust for Public Land magazine, and something that stood out to me there was a quote that they have from an interview with him. And in that interview, Taylor said, "Everyone, no matter the age or person, race, creed, whatever, there's one place that we all belong, and that's outside. It's the most natural space for you to be in. It provides you everything that you need to be in harmony, to be healthy." So we're blessed today to have Taylor with us to tell us about 4 Oak Cliff, his work with the organization, also the importance of being outdoors for everyone. So thanks for being with us, Taylor.
My pleasure. Again, I just want to start by saying I always love being in the space with my people, no matter what it is. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here with y'all. I love community. I love community building and organizing, and everything that I've learned about what you all are doing in Newark is inspiring to me, because I know that collectively is how we thrive, and it's these spaces like this that help us to share ideas, share stories that can be beneficial to the people that we serve. So gratitude to y'all for allowing me to speak today and just be in y'all space. But also, I extend gratitude for the work you putting in, because I understand, I overstand, the responsibility and also the burdens that come with, community building work. So, I really appreciate everyone who's doing that work. And for myself, just to give y'all, because I want to take time, I want to have the time to be able to, like you all said, have a conversation, learn from one another, and build with one another. But I'm from Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff, and I grew up in an area, the zip code that I grew up in is 75216. In Dallas, that zip code leads the state of Texas with the most people incarcerated currently. Well, and that was something that didn't take long for me to realize. As a kid, I grew up in this park. It was called Glendale Park, and it was maybe a quarter of a mile from my house, if that. But I would walk to the park with my cousins in the summertime. We learned how to swim there. Some people have said that I could have been, one of the greatest swimmers of all time, but I didn't pursue that. But I grew up and learned how to swim in Glendale Park. And I was born in 1988. So I remember growing up in the mid 90s in Dallas. My grandfather, also my grandparents, they had the local convenience store in our neighborhood. It was called Ben & Son. And like my papa was like the spot. Everybody went there. He was from Dallas too. So like even generations of people, I saw my grandfather hire his high school friends, to work with him. And they were my elders at this time, but they would tell me about when they were in high school. Him and my granny had been dating since high school, and I just was able to soak up a lot of history in that space. My grandfather fed the community, so there was a reverence that he had within Oak Cliff. The local high school would always, I would see him getting these plaques from them as a super booster and just all these amazing things. But the shopping center in which his store was located, to me, was like my universe. That was, in the middle. I lived on a street called East Pentagon, and if I went north, I would maybe a quarter of a mile, I'm going to my grandfather's store in Glendale Shopping Center. If I go south a quarter of a mile, I'm in Glendale Park, where I learned how to swim and shoot on a double rim goal and do all those things. And I also remember in the 90s, you know, people would be cruising down this main street. It's called Ledbetter. And on a Sunday evening, you know, Ledbetter splits. Glendale Park it's a massive park. It splits it. So I remember on Sundays, man, it would be bumper to bumper because my granny also lived on the other side of Ledbetter, on the opposite side of the park, which was maybe a half a mile from my house, my granny and my grandfather who had the store. So I just tell you all that to paint the narrative or space of, you know, my upbringing. And it was an amazing time for me where I learned a lot and I saw a lot. But I also understood, you know, I feel like anyone growing up in that environment, and you all understand, mature a little bit faster than those of our counterparts who might grow up in other spaces. But I remember my mother telling me, as me and my cousins walked to learn how to swim, and this is, you know, 1995, 96. And she would always say, hey, if y'all see a needle, y'all make sure y'all get far away from that. Cause we walk in the swim lessons, we may have on flip-flops or anything like that. And I know at first I was like, why needles? You know, I just knew I'd go to school to get shots. I mean, not to school, but, you know, getting my immunizations. I hated shots. So I didn't understand, like, were people just getting shots? I'm 6 years old, 7 years old, like people just getting shots. And I had to have a conversation with my mom about heroin at that age. And then I had to understand that there are people that are around me that are addicted to drugs, like crack, heroin, whatever these hard drugs were. And I understood more so like why certain people were different type of characters. Because at first, you know, as a kid in all innocence, I just saw the person for who they were. And but I remember having those conversations with my mom and then began, you know, to mature and get older and see the world more and recognize the difference between my communities and other communities. And that was something that I as the more I learned in history about what our people had done, and the more that I just, you know, grew my knowledge of self as well, I understood that this is something that I wanted to be a part of the change for. My local recreation center was Thurgood Marshall Recreation Center. And growing up in Thurgood Marshall, that's where I played basketball and everything. I had to learn who Thurgood Marshall was. And when I saw he was an attorney and I saw that, you know, he integrated the schools with the work that he did with the NAACP and just all of the different things that took place to get there. And then I was also able to apply that to my own personal life. Um, Talking to my great granny and my grandmother, who were from a freedman's town in South Oak Cliff. It's a neighborhood that's called the 10th Street Historic District. And to sit on my great granny's porch, you know, with my great aunts and my cousins and all that, it was an amazing time to learn and to see different things about our people. So I held on to all that as I matured and grew. And as I got older, I I started to cling towards law and how that part of policy and leadership was impactful for me and for what I could do. And I had the aspirations to go to law school. And from there, I went to college. You know, I studied political science and had this whole goal to become an attorney and be like Thurgood Marshall, essentially, and be able to come back to my neighborhood all the way up to me finishing school and taking the LSAT. And I did okay. And I was waitlisted for some colleges to go to law school, and that was the goal. But I read an article that was titled "The Cradle to Prison Pipeline," and I saw my zip code at the top of that list. It's 75216, and you know, 400 plus inmates just for my zip code at the time, and only 2% college ready graduates. And then I looked at the other zip codes, and they were all in Oak Cliff, the community that I was from. And I had an epiphany in that moment. I said that I don't want to go to law school anymore. I want to get to I want to get upstream essentially and work with our youth. So I applied to work at the local elementary school in my neighborhood, which is Bushman Elementary. And there my life changed. I took all my experiences that I had growing up and talk to these young people that were in my class and try to give them as much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that I could pour into them. And I remember one day asking them, if there was anything that you would change in your community, what would it be? And they were in the fourth grade. These were fourth graders. And they started telling me the drug addicts, the murders, just the crime, and all these negative things that I'm thinking in my head, like, man, I thought back to when I was a kid as well. And was like, you know, it's 20 years later and these things are still the same. So I took time and sat with them and we planned out what we could do. And we came up with having this back to school festival. And we had to come up with a location, and the place that I knew that had served our whole community was Glendale Park. And we decided to have that event at Glendale Park. We went out in the community, got as many people as we could involved. And in that first festival, we had about 1,500 people show up at the festival. It was a voter registration drive, job fair, college fair, school supply giveaway. And from there, I realized that we had started a movement in our community, because people saw themselves, and nothing like that had taken place in a Glendale Park before. So it was really special for not just, the kids in my class, but the whole neighborhood. And now, from there, we've been in existence for 9 years as an entity. I'm the full-time CEO of 4 Oak Cliff now. And just recently on that street Ledbetter that I told you all about, we just purchased the first YMCA in all of the Southwest, for Black people. It's called Moreland YMCA. And we were able to get that YMCA, and it's 10 acres on the property, and it's a 20,000 square foot building. And now being in that space, we're able to do the true programs that we know are necessary for our community. And we do it all with a dual gen approach to education, where we focus on the entire family, both the child and the parent, because we believe that in order for us to move our community forward, that we have to move the family unit forward. And that's what our work has been over the past 9 years. And for me, having the time to be in a space with you all, um, I just think about the courageous work or courage that it takes to do what you all are doing, what we are doing all over the country, with people being very proximate to the things that need to be served. And when I think of it, the quote that you spoke about being outdoors, um, I mean, it's our radical. We have to be radical in that space. When I see that y'all have a Nat Turner Park, I was like, man, um, I haven't seen nothing like that before. And I grew up and was taught Nat Turner was a hero in my household. So for me to see that and see like there's a radical effort of people to maintain, take care of, it really touched my heart. And I want to be able to provide whatever support, encouragement that I can. I've been blessed to be put in positions to do work for our people in different spaces. I also serve in the city of Dallas on the Park and Rec board for the entire city. And I know that I'm on an assignment from God, because that same park that I was telling you all about, Glendale Park, is now under my jurisdiction as a park board member. One of the first things I was able to do on the park board was get a $27 million master plan approved for that park, because I knew what my dreams were of that park as a child. And I really think about like, that's where we are most pure, is like as children. We take imagination away the older we get. But whenever I be able to have the chance to sit in a decision-making seat, I often try to, channel my inner youngster or child and talk to me and think of like, what is it that would have made this a better space for you and your peers? Because everything we're doing is laying foundation for those who come next after us to improve what we've done. And I'm committed to that work. And to anybody that's trying to do that work, you can consider me in the trenches with you. You can consider me more than an ally. I'll be your brother in the work for our people. That's all I had. I just want to have a conversation with y'all. My son might be joining me if y'all don't mind. Taylor Jr. coming in the room with me. That's cool. All right.
Well, I'm gonna say it, I'm bubbling all over here and excited about everything that you said. I'm usually not speechless, but right about now, you have warmed my heart and my spirit. So I
Thank
can't say nothing else. I'm just like, it is God driven. And this is not a coincidence for you to be here. So I just got to say, God got the plan, and we just have to follow. So glad that you're part of it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Woo! Is all I got to say.
Hmm.
You know, United Praxis One is United Praxis One's hope is that we be the you know, like the parks, the go-to for park programming in the city of Newark, transforming parks in Newark, and creating programming 24/7 in all the parks in the city of Newark. Why? Because of the conversation that you just had. You know, can you imagine, like, when you said that park is now under my jurisdiction? I said, that was what you need. Like, so inspired is all I got to say.
Thank
You know, and you know, we're all folk in the community, you know, trying to make the community that we live in a better and safer place. And you know, are among, you know, folks that inspire me to do right for by my community. And I'm so glad to have met you.
Thank you.
Hey, Taylor. Hey.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I'll also add, y'all, I just want to say, in the work, you never know what'll happen. And I think that one of the most important things is when people feel seen. And I, you know, before the call, I looked at the areas in which you all were in. I looked up the zip code. I went and looked at census data just so I could get a feel from what the numbers say. The numbers won't always say what who the people are, but I'm familiar, you know, like data does tell a story, and I'm familiar with what oppression is. I mean, that's the mission of Fort Oak Cliff. We aim to liberate Oak Cliff from systemic oppression through a culture of education while increasing social mobility and social capital. And you know, a lot of times when people talk about communities like ours, and I say ours, y'all, because I relate.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope you understand. But when people talk about communities like ours, they use so many labels and terms. And I think of the spirit like someone like a Nat Turner, like, now let's call it what it is. It's oppressed. It's let's not put challenges in there. Let's call it for what it is. Systemic oppression has been put in place. And so it's not okay, but it's the reality. And I believe the team who deals with reality wins. So as soon as we can all get on the page of what's real and what's not, I think we would be, you know, on the progressive space. But I say that to say that man, proximity is so important to the work. I as a member on the Trust for Public Lands board, we were in New York celebrating the 50th, and you know, to be honest with you all, like I didn't know much about the Trust for Public Land before getting on the park board like 7 years ago, and I learned a lot now. But I was in that space at Rockefeller University and just all that, and I'm knowing where I'm from, I'm like, man, I can't believe like I'm really in this space. So to see y'all at the celebration was a blessing for me. You know, it makes me feel comfortable. Um, I've been in a lot of spaces and a lot of things, but I still get most comfortable when I'm around those who understand me. And you know, with what you all are doing out there in Newark, it's so important. I was telling you all, I was going to tell you about this situation. Are you all, any of you all familiar with the name Stanley Williams at all? Stanley Williams is a young man that grew up in South Central LA. And he grew up loving a park in his neighborhood too. By the time he became 16, 17 years old, him and his friends would basically have taken over their neighborhood park. In that park was one of the biggest movements we've ever seen in the United States. But I'll tell you more about this park. It wasn't invested in. It didn't have people there programming the park. It didn't have anyone there to really engage these young people. It was almost when, if you all ever heard that broken glass or broken window theory, one window was broken and people continue to tear it down, it became that. Stanley Williams got the name Stanley Tukey Williams.
Dookie. Yeah, I remember
He
that.
founded the Crips as we know today. Now I want you all to imagine if you all's movement was in that park that Stanley was at. And we talking about a 16-year-old that started an international movement now. I mean, Snoop was crip walking at the Super Bowl. Serena Williams is crip walking at the US Open. Like, this is a cultural thing that a 16-year-old started. I think we really need to understand the power of that leadership that was there. But we also got to understand the power of not being seen and not having someone there to nurture you. Because can you imagine if you all were able to wrap your arms around that 15 or 16-year-old that was in that space and was able to foster him into who he could have been as he got older and he was in prison. He said that prison was made to rehabilitate him, but he had never been rehabilitated to begin with. And while in prison, this man wrote peace books that had him nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. That's who was inside of that young man, right? All of these amazing things, courageous, fearless leadership. And he got really big too. He lifted weights a lot. Arnold Schwarzenegger saw him at Muscle Beach one time and said, man, you could be one of the best bodybuilders ever. And he said, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger told me that, it made me so inspired. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor that signed his execution certificate when they executed him. So I just think about that story of that one person that could have been, I'm not going to say could have been, that was one of our country's greatest leaders, but the investment wasn't there at the time. And I was at my park recently that we did with South Oak Cliff Renaissance with Trust for Public Land. It was a pocket park right across the street from a high school, South Oak Cliff High School. They just won state back to back. You know, it's an amazing time right now. I see these young men walking across the street after we had just given a tour of the park. I mean, literally just gave a tour. School had just got out. Saw this young man and call him Wild Man, but he the top receiver on the football team, all that. He running across the street with his shirt off. And I said, what's up, man? Hold on, come here, come talk to me. He come over and talked to me and I was like, what's going on? Something don't look right. And he told me what was going on. I'm out here looking out for my little bro. I walked back in the park and these young men see me and they talk to me and then they like, all right, let's go. As soon as they thought they were out of my eyesight, they start fighting. Soon as, in that same park last year in December, a young man was shot in that same park. At our last park board meeting we had, the police came and discussed 3 major incidents in our parks and they were shootings. And all of them were across the street from a school, like literally right across the street from schools. And the park board, it was almost as if we were just gonna keep going through the report. And I'm like, hold on, man. We talking about our children. Like, we can't gloss over this. Like, this is a real thing. And I'm sure that, you know, you all are in some space too, where it's like, what can we do for the youth? I saw the parks are right by the high school. I think I see the programs where y'all have the rangers in the parks and keeping them programmed, because the more you shine light on the dark, the better that our young people are gonna perform and show us who they truly are. So I just want to commend y'all for that work, because I want to learn from that, because I am in a real space right now at Renaissance Park where I just witnessed it myself right after school. Like it's activity. What can we do in that space? Because again, I believe the team who deal with reality win, and I'm not gonna fake it to you all. I've done a lot of great things, but I have not figured it out at all. And I think collectively we learn and we build and we share ideas and we able to improve our quality of life.
Amen. That humility right there. I have done a lot of great things, but I have not figured it out. That's awesome.
We gotta lean into our humility and away from the ego.
Mhm. Yes, Susan.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. Mr. Toynes, is it Toynes? It is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing. I have just two quick questions, kind of specific to your story. This is practical. We all know programming. When those 1,500 people came out to that event and you sparked a movement, how did you get them there? Was there news media help? Did you have a great publicist? Were you on social? Just real quickly, that's just basic, but you did it, so we'd love to know.
Yeah, for sure. It's a book that you all should read. It's called Contagious. And in that book, it talks about social currency. And I learned this book from the late great Nipsey Hussle. He said it was one of the best books he ever read. And in that book, it talks about social currency. And the number one way to get people to anything, to spread it, is word of mouth. Yes, we did use social media, but it was a few things at play. One, we had a crazy ground game. I put everybody in a 4 Oak Cliff t-shirt, right? And listen, I take a lot from culture, like pop culture. I remember learning FUBU, like the guy who made FUBU, Damon John, said that he made FUBU on the biggest shirts and gave them to big guys because they were the biggest billboards. So I was like, I'm gonna make a 4 Oak Cliff t-shirt, put the date on the back and put the location on there. And I just gave those shirts out. That was the first donation that we got. You know, I went and bought shirts with it because I was like, man, we got to get people here. But all this happened. I had no 501c3. I had none of that. But I think one of the real things that I needed to know was how to really get people out was knowing them. Like growing up in the neighborhood for me was huge. And then being able to just, keep it close to where the park was going to be. And 1,500 people came. And last summer, we had roughly 6,000 people at the Back to School Festival in August. And people got a real need. People needed backpacks. Like, so we were able to serve them what they needed. So that helped a lot.
Wow. Fabulous. And my other question was so interesting when you made the life choice of not going to law school because working directly with youth would be upstream, that is getting to the upstream problems. Was there a link? Was there a catalyst that enabled you to do this, or was it your home? You went to your home community and had enough support to just start doing it? Because I know a lot of people want to do that, and somehow you made that work, and now you're with a nonprofit. But can you tell us about that link? Was that you had family support, neighborhood support, so that you could just do that?
No, I was teaching, so I started 4 Oak Cliff as a first-year teacher in the classroom. I didn't even know about nonprofits at the time. I just, I knew how to throw an event. And then also in undergrad, when I was in college, I pledged Alpha, and we threw this big party every year called Kerr Beach, and we get a whole bunch of people out. I really took that blueprint and was like, I'm gonna do this too for this Back to School Festival. And then, that was it for me. But there was a moment though in 2016 I went to SMU for grad school. I got my master's in education from SMU. And man, one of my professors said, if you want to, I told her what I wanted to do in my community. I thought I was going to have to do it through the schools in some type of way. Well, definitely through the schools, but as a staff member at the school, she said, if you want to change your community, you need to look up this guy named Jeffrey Canada. And I was like, okay. She was like, look up the Harlem Children's Zone. So I checked out the Harlem Children's Zone, looked at everything about Jeffrey Canada, read his book and just all the stuff that he was doing. And I was like, okay, kind of understand now. Like I understand what a nonprofit is. And again, Divine, there's this organization, this data-driven org in Dallas called the Commit Partnership. That year when I was at the middle school at this time, in 2015, 2016 school year, I'm working at the middle school, and I had the opportunity to go to hear Jeffrey Canada speak for the Commit Partnership. And Commit is a data-driven nonprofit, high-end nonprofit in the city. I go speak at this event. One of my mentors from the school district was sitting next to me, and Commit had this job opening for like this community impact associate. And she asked me why hadn't I applied for that job? And I was like, because I want to stay at the middle school with the kids. And she was like, no, you need to apply for this job. Jeffrey Canada is speaking at this event. I'm inspired by him. I apply for the job. I didn't know this, but the school had cut my position. There was no more funding for it. They had hired me as like a community liaison type role. After that first festival, they wanted me to do the same, but there was no more funding for it. I had just had my daughter, my wife and I just had our little girl, and I applied for that role at Commit and I got the job. But that woman knew that. She knew all that was happening behind the scenes. That's why she encouraged me to do it. But while at Commit, I was able to kind of detach a little bit from the neighborhood and really analyze the data and statistics that it took to like build my narrative of why the work needs to happen. And I was able to meet and learn the funding world that Commit had access to. And I read a book before that was called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And I felt that a little bit while I was there. And I was like, okay, I'm able to sit in and learn and then bring information back to my community. And I was connected to the Kellogg Foundation while I was at the Commit Partnership. And Kellogg had given this place-based 3-year grant. I read the grant, saw all the things that were needed, and I'm an associate, and it had to work in South Oak Cliff. And they were like, identify an organization in South Oak Cliff and all these things created through the city. And I'm in my head like, I already know what that organization is. I don't have to find nobody. So that's how I ended up building 4 Oak Cliff, was through the Commits Partnership 3-year, 6-figure grant that they got from the Kellogg Foundation. I was able to use those funds to build out my work.
Thank you for explaining that. We've talked about 501c3 nonprofits are change mechanisms, and they're complicated. And once people learn them, people can see how, but we haven't really explained them to the general public or the news media very well, in my opinion. But it's great to see your how-to, the learning that happens when you have experience with that. I could say mechanism. They're communities, they're mechanisms, but they're very complex, sophisticated change mechanisms. Those nonprofits, I would say, that's not a very spiritual way to talk about them, but they're miracles. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. I mean, it's taxes. It's a tax code. It's a 501c3. But it's education that got to go into that space. And for me, collective impact, I'm all with that. I believe in that model, because everyone doesn't have the privilege to learn what it takes to build a nonprofit. So for me, with 4 Oak Cliff, I see us, we're a place-based backbone for South Oak Cliff in an area that we call the super block. Now, I got so many people in my community that are doing the work. They don't have a 501c3 though. And for me, I'm always thinking, for example, it's a guy every morning, and he from the neighborhood. His name Keith. Keith done changed his life. I know Keith. I grew up with Keith. Him and my older cousin were really close. And he now is doing this donut project where he just giving the kids donuts, like he paying for it out of his pocket every morning. And for me, I'm like, okay, Keith, what are we gonna do to develop? Because he want to get into the work. He just hasn't been able to have the time to take the skills of building a 501c3. So for me, it's like, how can I support what you're doing? Because it is necessary. And that's my son, y'all here. He coming in here with me, but it's cool. But being able to have that entity for the neighborhood is so helpful. As I'm sure you all have seen, like there's so many people that have work that they do that just need a space to be able to grow. And that's what Commit served for me. Like that's what they were for me. And I just want to be able to be that for another organization. And there has been other nonprofits birthed out of Fort Oak Cliff that are doing work in our community as well.
Thank you.
For everybody. That's awesome. That's awesome. Woo, child, I'm coming to Dallas.
Come Juneteenth.
No, Juneteenth, you know, it's popping in Newark too.
Oh, it is, but you know, that's
See,
okay.
that's where Juneteenth started at in Texas, huh?
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it. I didn't want to be that guy. But I'm glad that it's a national holiday. But one summer you're gonna have to come get some of that Texas heat, get some Texas barbecue and watermelon on Juneteenth. You know, go through the Freedmen's towns, you know, like just come one time it's different.
Betty, let's
I'm
do
gonna have
it
to
for
come
our
up to
7th
Newark
year.
too.
Challenge
Next
accepted.
year. Next
All
year.
right, come on. We host a Juneteenth celebration at our space. That's so it's crazy. We opened our building on Juneteenth. Like
Of
that's
course you did.
yeah, yeah. So we host a Juneteenth celebration every summer. And now you know we have the new facility, so we have 10 acres of land. We have our own park land that we can host Juneteenth on, and it's a big family event. But come on down to Dallas. I'd love to have you. Show you around.
Don't tempt me, Taylor.
Yeah, come on.
Taylor, I will get my flight. Don't play.
Or the back to school festival. If you all want to come experience that, you know, that's a really cool space. One of the highlights for the festival. I tell y'all, if you never know what'll happen at these events. In 2018, our key funder like pulled away, like they wasn't funding the festival anymore. So we had to go out and really figure some things out. We ended up pulling the festival off, but a week before the festival, this rapper makes a song, and he said, and then out of nowhere, he said, "Shout out Oak Cliff, I'm about to fly to Dallas. In a couple years, I might just buy the Mavericks." This is a week before the festival.
Wow.
What are the chances that that rapper's tour date is August 18th in Dallas, the same day as the Fort Oak Cliff Back to School Festival? That rapper is J. Cole. J. Cole came to the Fort Oak Cliff Back to School Festival in 2018. We didn't even know he was really gonna come. The community, once he made that song, the community went crazy and was like, "You gotta come to the Back to School Festival. You gotta come. You gotta come." Towards the end of the festival, we standing there. I see, and it's like the end. It's like some little kids performing on stage doing bucket drumming. And I look up and I see this black truck pull up. And I was like, man, who is that? This tall, slender guy get out with long locks. I was like, dang, it's J. Cole. He really came. And he came out there in the heat and sat there and talked to all the people, signed autographs.
Wow.
And it was just special. We brought $20,000 worth of backpacks to the festival. And I would say that, like, because that made national news. Like, it was in, you know, all the magazines. J. Cole came to this, yada yada. But it was such a close-knit thing that it was really in the hood, and it was special. And after that, man, the festival just went up. Like, so many more people began come. Like, the next summer, it exploded because the summer before, J. Cole was there. So yeah, that was a special moment in Fort Oak Cliff history. And he was in Glendale Park. So, you know, that's Glendale Park history, Grammy Award winning artist in the park.
Oof. Amen.
My brother Charlie, you done laid some nuggets on us.
Big
Well, I
time.
appreciate that.
Filling us with inspiration and hope.
I'm glad to be able to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Taylor, is it possible to repeat the names? You gave us some key names. Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Canada-
Jeffrey
Canada?
Canada. Yeah, Jeffrey Canada. With the Harlem Children's Zone. There's a good book that he has that's called Whatever It Takes. And there's a piece in that book. There's a chapter that I think that I would just highlight to you all in a space of encouragement that's called escape velocity. Have y'all heard of this term before, escape velocity? What escape velocity is that it's scientific, it's physics really. It's the speed that an object has to make in order for it to get into orbit, outer space. Because before escape velocity, gravity will continue to pull you down. And in whatever it takes, he talks about escape velocity and how escape velocity for us in our community, a lot of times programs are really cool and they very helpful, but the gravity of the community always pulls someone back down. So when you think about what is it in the work that we do that's providing the escape velocity for our people to be in orbit to where it's natural, like, and that's, I think programs and events are cool, but it's that in between time of growth and really for people to feel cared for. I think that's what provides that escape velocity for us, especially when you got so many people operating in survival mode. For them to just have someone that they see care about them, I mean, that you never know how that plays out and how it helps one or two individuals to become in orbit and become, beneficial to the community and not detrimental.
What you just said right there about the community. And so the folk that are working towards being the change also need these type of conversations and keep us in orbit, right? As we're trying to, because of the forces within the community
Yeah,
and outside of the community.
man.
And taking the time to know that the community is in that position because of the lack of nurturing and understanding and empathy, and what it takes. And so the people that are trying to make the change need to have folk like you and us, as we're doing the work,
Right on.
because that is like, it's a burden, but it's a joyous burden by doing the work, right? But you get to burn out, and so your passion and your love keep you going. But you need things like this and extra people to come in to help do that work, because it's not going to happen overnight. But we need that support and empathy for ourselves
Right on.
as we're doing the work to help the community. So this is really rewarding for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to come learn about those park rangers y'all got. I love that program. Y'all got 14-year-olds doing that? That's what's up. What's the age range? 14 to like 25 or something like that, I thought.
Yeah. So the city of Newark has what we call our summer youth employment and training program.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I'm sure there's programs like it in other cities around the country. And we created what we call our Park Rangers program. I'm saying we loosely because it was all Donna. Donna Kirkland is the brainchild behind Park Rangers. She had a vision and said, you know what, young people can steward our park. Young people can, make our parks great. And, United Parks is one, took it on. When it started with actually the Mildred Helms Park Resurrection Committee. Actually before that, it was, and Donna, to make sure I'm telling it right, it was through a prison reentry program. No, it wasn't. Okay.
So
So,
it was 2 kids
okay.
with Greater North Conservancy.
Yeah.
And then it bloomed into and switched from we working with another nonprofit, and it was important that we worked with the nonprofit that we were supporting. And so we worked and worked until we could take it from the other nonprofit and give it to Milton Helms Park Resurrection Committee. It's in the process of United Parks as one being formed. So it was at that one park, and it bloomed to 3 different parks with Milton Helms Park Resurrection being the lead and giving them the grant, and then it went to United Parks as one. The prison reentry came afterwards through a conversation. At the time, Renata was chief of staff for a South Ward councilman. And I was talking about the gangs and the prison reentry. You know, how could it would be great to have the people coming home to learn a skill to help with the parks, and we do wraparound services for the prison reentry. And so Renata's boss got some discretionary funds, and he said, Donna, that program you was talking about, I'm going to give you the discretionary funds. And there was ex-gang members that canvassed and got the guys that came from prison. And we created a program and hired someone to be their leader. And so all that came from conversations and relationships and seeing a need in someone believing in to start it. The problem was that, you know, there wasn't any funding for the program. And so we had to do it for, I think, 2 years, and another nonprofit took it over. And so that's part of the problem. If there's not enough funding to really have these programs be sustainable, it becomes one-off, right? And so who knows where it would have been, the prison reentry, but it's not, but the park rangers is still going on. So it was one for the youth, and then the other for, you know, the folks that was coming home. So that was the dream. It did happen, but we couldn't take it any further.
I have a meeting with our director of Park and Recs on Monday. And one of the issues that we have is we don't have enough park rangers right now. Like, there's a deficit of park rangers in Dallas. And I think that that's an amazing idea that I want to talk to him about and potentially connect him with you all to see how we can get this into, you know, the city of Dallas as a whole. Because when I was in high school, my summer job every summer was through DISD, and DISD paid me $10 an hour to work in the fencing and maintenance department. And I did that every summer. And I've been talking to John and his team. John Jenkins is our director of Park and Rec, you know, about how we can get a workforce program for our teens. And I think that that is brilliant, because for us, it'll help solve one of the problems that we have, which is we don't have enough park rangers. And we could even pilot it with Renaissance Park, and maybe Trust for Public Land, you know, would be interested in trying to help pilot that at Renaissance Park, given that a young man was literally shot in this park. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea that I want to try to, you know, get implemented here in Dallas. So thank you for that. I'd love to follow up with you and just see, you know, how we could go about that appropriately.
It's good that we got your voice on the national board, because some of the things that we know that's needed, if you don't have the lived experience, you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Right. And so to have an advocate to understand it and the importance of it is something that can be done nationally, like what you're saying. If people have the opportunity to come out and learn from the community, but you already know what is needed and how to get there on a national level would be really beneficial when you get to talk to the people on the field that's doing the work. And so that's breaking down, because up to what they call the C-suite, you don't know what's going on in the basement. So you couldn't possibly understand the dimension of what's needed and the time that it would take and the nurturing that it takes and the stick-to-itness that it would take to make it sustainable. And so it can't be a lot of these surface things, right? The cute check the box. We got to go to get the box where it's sustainable. And so we need that type of advocacy, us in the field, to make that what it really is supposed to be, community in the center and the whole community, which is what we strive to do as well. But the conversation, the door got to be open to that conversation with empathy and understanding in the ears that's listening and receiving it.
Hold me accountable.
You did that the day of the thing. So, you know, the creator don't make any mistakes. And so we do need a voice. The community needs a voice on higher levels. So God put you there. So I'm going to take advantage of that.
Hey, I'm here to serve.
Okay. Now I can set up, I can get off my pedestal.
Thank you.
Thank
I was
you.
just gonna say, in starting something like the Park Rangers in Dallas, it may be somewhat doable. We would like to see our program be year round. It's just for the summer. But the funding for the young people comes from the federal dollars for summer youth employment. And I imagine Dallas gets some of those dollars too.
For sure.
Yeah, and so this is their placement. So United Parks as one kind of applies to the city Office of Employment and Training to be a placement site for young people during the summer. So there's probably similar relationships that could be worked out either with your nonprofit in the city or, you know, with the city Parks and Rec itself being the kind of sponsor or employer. But it doesn't necessarily mean additional dollars. It might just mean an additional placement. A
Yeah.
new placement that wasn't, you know, wasn't being used before.
Yeah, I like that. I'm bringing it to the director's attention on Monday. Like I really like that, and I think that something that can be implemented here, probably seamlessly.
And Taylor, the creation of the program is all on you. It's what you want the young people to do, and how you want to program what they, you know, what they learn, how they work, and whatever you want to design for them. The impetus behind our Park Rangers program is environmental justice. So ours is summer environmental enrichment programming, where they start their day with yoga and journaling in the park. For the last 3 years, though, we've been, like, of course, virtual and then hybrid. But, you know, and then they're in the park, stewarding the park, and individuals come out and speak to them. They get workshops, they go on walk shops, they go on trips, and, you know, things that help them become a whole, well-rounded, community-oriented member of the city of Newark, you know, and not always have the impetus where let me learn something and then take it out. No, you're here to learn. You're here to learn how to steward the community in which you live, so that you can grow up knowing that your community is worth your value, you know? And so that's the way we designed it, how Donna designed it, how she wants to make sure young people take care of their community and want to be there, and not, the goal for these days for young people is always, I'm gonna get my millions and leave. You know, no, Newark is our community, and Newark is the community. You know, you should honor it, and you should want to take care of it. And because, you know, we build legends here, so, you know, that's the goal. You know,
Legends, I like that. Shout out to young Shakur coming out of there.
Yes, indeed. Yep. So like I said, you know, you design it how you want, specifically with those dollars, you know. So when you do sign up with your city, you know, as being a host site for young people, it's whatever you design it to be. Yeah.
I want to put out the key part too, is that the counselors that counsel the children are members of the community that get paid. And so it's an economic piece in there as well. Where United Parks is one, is paying those counselors and the people that come in and speak that are usually from North, and then the city is the one that's paying the youth. So again, it's about the whole people. The people in the community usually volunteer, right?
Mhm.
And so we're looking, time is valuable and important, and so how do you pay some of the people that's doing the work? And so that's an important piece too, because that helps with ownership and connectivity and the nurturing.
I
So
agree
that's really
completely.
important as well.
I completely agree with that.
Yep, Susan.
I just wanted to share an outdoor experience yesterday. It was cold and raw, so it wasn't so much fun that way, but we looked at 3 different sites in communities near Newark, Milburn, Maplewood, and South Orange for mini forests. So mini forests being very dense planting of small forests that are native and very dense. They grow very fast. So within 3 years, they're self-sustaining. They need weeding and watering, and they need forest rangers for the first 3 years. So it's an exciting movement worldwide. And I just wondered if Dallas Parks and Rec had started mini forests that can really be in the corner of a park, but they take stewardship, and they're great youth trainers and connectors to nature.
Unknown data point of Dallas is that we have the largest urban forest in the country. No, Julian, hold on, y'all. I'm sorry.
Cheers to Julian.
Right. Dad's work is never done.
Yeah, too. But we have the largest urban forest in the country right now. So we do, like, our parks, a lot of them are on 5 Mile Creek, which is the biggest part of the Great Trinity, or a creek of the Great Trinity Forest. We haven't had a program like that. Right now, we have an issue within our trees in Dallas that our arborists are really working on. Have you all heard of the ash borer before?
Yeah, we're facing it. We're
Oh,
right
okay.
here. It's
So our
happening right
trees are
here.
quarantined right now. Well, our forests are quarantined, and we're trying to get enough arborists to go out and count trees. So that is another space that we can incorporate people to doing that work too.
I could put it in the chat if I can figure out how, but there's a small book called Mini Forest Revolution, just came out last year. It's like a field guide, and these forests can be 6 parking spaces big, and they will create an ecosystem. So it's an exciting, almost technical thing for kids to learn about. We're all learning about it. It's an inspiring other possibility. Very dense, like 6-8 trees in a square meter. So traditional foresters will say, no, you can't do it that way. But it's a tested technique. It's exciting to learn about. Takes a while to learn about it. I've talked to Donna. I had to read the book 3 times, but just one more tool.
Susan, you came on after introduction, so maybe you can introduce yourself to Taylor, and then Taylor, maybe we can meet the TOYNES kids after that.
Yes,
That's
sure. Susan Haig, I have so enjoyed being friends with Carla the last two years, and being on these wonderful Saturday mornings from time to time. I'm an orchestra conductor by profession. I guess I kind of bring things together, connect the dots, and I'm passionate about how our news system, our daily news, can have more stories of transformation, of healing, of regeneration. Sometimes the news is the way it is just out of habit. You got to be careful about how to news change. You got to be careful. You have to be respectful of the news people, but it seems to me it needs to be more nurturing, and it needs to be more educational. So the nonprofit I started is civicstory.org. And we're grateful that Carla is one of the advisors to civicstory.org. And then srhub.org, Sustainability Reporting Hub, is a platform where different newsrooms are, stories are aggregated from different newsrooms all around New Jersey.
That's cool. That's specific. That's very specific word. Here you go, man. Y'all want to meet my children, Taylor Jr. is Taylor, come here, son. He's walking away from me right now. Wednesday, you want to come introduce yourself?
Her name is Wednesday. I love it.
Come on, Wayne, come introduce yourself real quick.
We all want to wave. Hi.
All right, come on. You go right back. She's become
My camera
fascinated
on.
with video games.
Uh-oh.
I might be letting her play a game she shouldn't be playing, but she loves it.
TO?
Huh? No, that's
Oh.
too much. She loved Mortal Kombat, but
Uh-oh.
She
Uh-oh.
loved
Watch
playing
out.
Mortal Kombat. Come introduce yourself real quick, Winnie. Say
I
your name.
can't. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
What do you enjoy, Winnie?
Mortal Kombat.
Okay. What's next week?
It's my birthday.
Yeah. And how old will you be?
7.
7 years old. She'll be
Oh
7
my goodness.
Happy
next,
birthday.
next Saturday.
Wow, happy birthday.
Wow.
And here's Junior. He came back. Say good morning, man. Say hi.
Hey, Junior.
Hey, Taylor.
Hi.
Yeah, see, he talking. He trying to say something. I don't know what, but
How old
my
is he?
wife, he's a year and a half.
Oh,
When's his
yeah.
birthday?
His birthday is October 1st.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. My niece is August. She'll be.
And he's talking too.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
he's trying
is.
to. But my wife, I got the kids today. My wife is a labor and delivery nurse.
Oh, wow. L&D.
Yeah,
Wow.
L&D. That's where she is. So, yeah, the children with their father this morning.
What a good thing.
Saturday
All right,
morning.
don't forget to feed them so you won't be in trouble when she get in. Now.
I've been there before, bro. So I appreciate the reminder. Thank you. For real, because I go a whole day and be like, I eat around like 2. What the kids eat today? Oh, snap. What did they eating chips all day? I appreciate that. I'm gonna make sure to execute.
My
I
goodness.
haven't heard Elizabeth. Where are you, Elizabeth?
Go, Junior.
Boo.
I haven't heard her, so I want to make sure she's okay. She's not. We'll have to text her. She's just too quiet for too long.
Boo.
Just got to make sure.
Daddy.
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't realize whatever my setup here, you couldn't hear me, but yes, I've been enjoying it. I've watched the kids. I watched little daughter, she was peeking over his shoulder before. So yes, I've been here. And I just want to kind of circle back into, you spoke about FUBU. Did you realize FUBU was, the name came from Donna Kirkland?
No, I got some history.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy doesn't know that. The guy, the football player, doesn't know that either.
Yeah, the unofficial founder of
You know,
football, Donna Kirkland.
People
Yeah.
write,
Huh?
how we write history to make ourselves to be the way, but the name of FUBU Kirkland. Now, the gentleman who may not know that, but yes, it came from Donna Kirkland.
Hey,
So you
man,
got right there at your fingertips.
that's what's up. I didn't know that.
He's a football player, right?
Yeah.
A retired football player, right?
I don't even know. I just know he
So a
was.
friend of mine, she knew him, and we were at the we were with some design, and we were trying to come up with a name. So he said for us, by us, and he said FUBU. And then I didn't see her anymore. And then Betty knew about it. I said, Betty, you must have sold it to the guy because I never heard it. And we drew the stuff. It was sportswear. And we drew the
That's
pants and tops. And she said they never did anything with it, right? I never met the people. And so I never met somebody from. You always gotta have somebody that and when we did it, Betty knew. I was telling her what I was doing, but nothing happened that I knew of.
So what, you making any merch for y'all?
No, I
Oh,
was
you gotta do
designing
that.
women and girls clothing and jewelry. Betty took
Okay.
a portfolio to, who was it, Valentino? And the next day, the stuff was on TV and Betty called. Your designs that I showed is on TV. So no,
That's history. Thank y'all for sharing that with me. I'm glad to be in your presence. Trendsetter for real.
just doing what comes, right?
Already, that's the truth.
Doing what comes. Wow. Well, I know I'm gonna have a good Saturday, Sunday. My well is really filled,
Oh, yes.
ready to do some things. You be prepared for some phone calls, to get some
Already.
ideas and, all of that. And some bigger stuff.
Already. Well, however I can be supportive, like I told you, I'm gonna be more than an ally. And if I'm ever up in Newark, I'm gonna make sure to hit y'all up.
You
You
better.
better.
I will, for real. I
And
gotta
Harriet Tubman Park is coming downtown Newark too. So we'll have Harriet Tubman, TPL is not doing it. We're not building it, but communication is going on. But at least we'll have Nat Turner and Harriet in Newark.
True liberator.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
This has been
Junior.
good. We
I
can't
don't
see
know if
you,
you're
Junior.
on
Dad got you down.
Facebook.
Can he see us? Dad,
Yeah,
we see
boy.
you. We see you.
Hi.
We saw you.
Hey,
What was it?
Junior.
Just a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
You
in
was
New York, he
partying?
was out there.
Partying with Diane.
Right.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. And
Taylor-
Renata didn't tell you, but if you look at Dr. Oz on TV, if you know about it, Renata used to be on this show. So we got a celebrity too.
That's what's up.
Yeah, so it's hidden things here.
That's good.
Bless you.
Yes. Yes.
Taylor, I'm not sure if you're on the socials. I don't think you are because it says you're a teacher at I think that's real old. On Facebook, you probably don't do that no more.
What you see me on Facebook?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I am on Facebook.
that's not you. Because it says you're a teacher.
Now you looked up Taylor Twins and somebody else came up. I was a teacher though. I just ain't probably updated my Facebook in a minute.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that's you. SMU.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Well, if you see
I don't use social
You-
media like I should.
I know. I thought so.
Yeah, I don't. But I did take the founder of Facebook to sit on my great granny's porch and have a conversation with him about Facebook.
Wow.
See, you see?
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg himself, like,
You was with Zucker.
yeah,
was with
Zuck
Mark?
came.
Wow.
Yeah. Didn't he do some work out there in Newark or something?
Yeah, ish. He
Yeah,
threw some money at us and
He gave money to Corey.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we got to follow up with him, right?
Okay,
Real talk. We done made a connection now. So
absolutely, cousin.
yeah, but yeah, add me on Facebook. I be on there occasionally.
I just did.
All right.
Was it social studies you taught?
I taught reading and writing. I wanted to teach social studies, but they threw me in the fire, and that was
Reading
man.
and writing middle school.
No, fourth grade reading and
Oh,
writing.
fourth grade. Right.
Yeah, then
right.
I went to the middle school after that first year, but my goodness.
Yeah, it says Sarah Middle.
Sarah Zoom up. Yeah.
Zoom Walk. Okay,
That's
it says
the middle
where you
school that I
were.
was at.
Maybe because it's not updated because I don't know you. So
Oh, that might be what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
And
only
then
show-
y'all check out 4 Cliff too. 4 Cliff social media is way better than mine.
I'm sure it
Sorry,
is.
I don't do it. I don't manage it. We have a really good intern.
You
She does
can't.
a pretty good job on our social
can't.
media. So the 4 Cliff page is really cool.
There's a bunch. Okay, I found it.
It's the green one.
Yes, I found it. Okay. Open on Saturdays.
Open gym going on right now.
Wow. Cause you got 10 acres. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a gym in there too. It was a YMCA, so it's a gym,
Yes,
basketball court, everything in there. I love to show y'all the space, but in the
I'm coming.
meantime,
Don't you
you can-
worry.
all right, you can see pictures of it on the website too.
I'm coming. I'm trying to take my travel buddy. She likes to travel for leisure. This gonna be leisurely. She's gonna be like, oh my gosh, what are we learning, Renata?
I mean, yeah, when y'all come, y'all learn a lot, but at the same time, like it's I'd want y'all to experience Dallas, Texas, and see our community too.
Okay.
Y'all go check out Pan African Connection, the biggest Black-owned bookstore in the country.
Is there a turkey leg hut?
It is a turkey leg hut here. There is one, but you know, we got a lot in Dallas. We got a lot here, so you'll really enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm heading down to Austin. It'll be my first trip to Texas in 3 weeks for a wedding.
Oh, really? You'll be out there during South by Southwest. It's gonna be a lot going on.
Yeah, that's why we're all staying outside of Austin because everything was, they said there's a big thing going on, so they're taking
Yeah.
us to hill country.
Okay, that's beautiful out there though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
It's all right, Junior. I'm right here.
All right. Hey, Richard.
Okay, so really appreciate the information that you shared, Brother Taylor. We'll definitely do some follow-up and find out more information about 4 Oak Cliff, you know, and we look forward to seeing you on another level in the future.
Thank you. Likewise. Y'all have a blessed weekend and look forward to following up with y'all.
You too,
Absolutely.
Taylor. Accept my
Yes, sir.
friend request.
I'm about to go do it right now. All right, peace, y'all.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Good one.
My pleasure. Thank y'all.
You're
See
awesome.
you, Junior.
All right,
Bye,
y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, we have a few announcements.